drive.
What do they do in the movies? We need to stop.
Our conversations that are like the initial convos are had with stakeholders who are explaining their business in a different way than the person sitting to their right and left. And it's very apparent that if we can't talk about the business in a fluid fashion, that what we are selling, what we are conveying to our customer, our client, our user is really muddy. And because of that, we're setting a stage that we can never truly be successful with. So I think it's one of those evident truths that people can see right in their organization, and they can see it happen right in front of their eyes. And it's not that they lack the ability to provide messaging, but sometimes it's really difficult to do when you're inside the house. Like that's a complicated thing to self-edit your own messaging strategy.
Our clients are doing something that maybe no one has done before.
Absolutely.
And to figure out what's resonating with audiences, you can't 100% rely on research. You just have to test to a certain degree. So having a really robust, messaging matrix, I think it just allows people to get ahead faster. So starting with that rather than just coming out the gate with a single message across the board, that would not work for most of our clients that are trying to move super fast.
Yeah, I think that's how you get really muddy water or very cloudy messaging, is like trying a whole bunch of different things and trying for different audiences, and everybody within the organization might have a very specific audience. And then they figure out like something that works, they connect with it, but then they lack the overall brand or the overall organizational message. And so the core becomes really difficult to define because they have maybe sales specific messaging that works for them, or they have messaging that works for them on the website, but they lack like the overall core outside of like services or the products.
Yeah, obviously something is working, right? Because most of the time the clients come to us, they're pretty successful, honestly, but they have bigger ambitions than that. And they found some things that work. But to your point, Haley, it's in a certain channel at a certain stage for one segment of the client. And how does that relate to a different channel, different segment, different stage of the journey? And so it's sort of like scattershot in some ways, and it tends to be a little bit more, down funnel product attribute for a particular
Absolutely.
segment, right? So what does it look like through the full funnel? What does it look like for all segments? What does it look like for the brand plus the product, right? And so that's, I think, where we're tapped to come in and take a bigger look at that.
It's a scary time because it's usually, we know what we're doing well over here and we know over here is an opportunity, but we haven't bridged that gap yet. And usually that's when we're getting engaged, is when it's time to kind of either bridge a product to another product line and we're looking at cross-sell type opportunities, or there's another audience we're trying to expand into, and it's scary. And that's why messaging is a good starting point, because it allows us to start to speak to what works well for one audience and how can we massage that? How does that value prop stack up for someone else's needs? Beyond that is understanding like what we're trying to accomplish. We're in a good position because we know we're not always trying to just influence sales. A lot of times we are, but we need to know when we're looking at messaging and we're looking at the frameworks of what it is we're trying to build. Are we trying to build loyalty and affinity, or is this something we're trying to get someone to buy? And when we're looking at what's working, what's not, is that we're not measuring at a brand level, but a tactic level. We're looking at what's working to get folks to convert. Might not be what we want to lead with at a brand level, and understand that it's different. Our goals are different, and that we need to have clear expectations for what we're trying to measure.
Haley, do you think clients would say we approach messaging differently than other shops?
Yeah, I don't know if we ever even really compare, because I think that the challenges and problems we try to solve for, others don't, or others hide maybe within like campaign specific work. And we try to have something to work off of as a guide that has that higher level before we start getting into campaign focused messaging. So I don't know that we find a lot of our clients comparing. I do see that they try to compare the work that they've done internally. And usually that is like extensive work, right? Where we've got large scale messaging mixed in with service specific RTBs and they can't really make heads or tails of what comes where at what point in time. So I think more along the lines of comparing against the work that they've done as a collective team, which is never discounted. All of that is very helpful for us to kind of look at from a prioritization and hierarchy perspective.